Welcome to a special figure review, where I'll be breaking down a figure that I thought I'd never own. Introducing the Hiya V2 Burning Godzilla, a fun thermonuclear variant. And this is just one of Hiya's many variants of this particular design, Godzilla 2019, and is also Hiya's second whack at this particular Godzilla. Without further ado, let's go! So everybody, I want to go ahead and kick this review off saying this. This is an action figure that I did not think that I'd actually ever own. In fact, I thought it passed me by. However though, this figure, initially it was released at Shanghai Wonderfest 2024. Along the way, there were a few batches that were released online through various websites such as Calcus.com and INS Hobby. INS Hobby is the one that I went ahead and got it from, so I'll credit them from this right here. Calcus.com had already sold out. And basically I went through INS Hobby, and it took about, I think, like 20 or 18 days to get shipped to my door. A little bit longer than I wanted to, but hey, better late than never, and here it is. So for this review, we're going to go ahead and do things a little bit differently than just a standard review, because I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Neca release, and we're going to go ahead and do a comparison. I think SH Monsterarts had a release of this variant. I don't have that one, unfortunately, so it will not be part of this, just in case anybody is curious. But we're going to go ahead and see what a 6 to 5 year difference between Hiya's release and Neca's release does. Now that is actually kind of crazy to think about, because it doesn't feel like it's been that long since we've been without Neca figures. I mean, it was late 2020, and now it is officially 2025, and we are nearly half a decade without Neca Godzilla figures. So it's been that long, that much time has passed. So we'll go ahead and get into that and talk about the specs of this action figure, what makes it brilliant. This is also the second release of the Burning Godzilla that they have done, and we'll go ahead and see just how that Neca variant has aged in 5 to 6 years. So let's go ahead and kick things off with the box with this one. So now, a little disclaimer I want to go ahead and state. So ignore this little cut that we have on the front of the box. This is not INS Hobby's fault. In fact, it is actually my fault. But for me though, what I did was I used my box cutter and I made the incision just a little bit too deeply, so yeah, we got that. It's not a problem though. I never plan on selling this action figure, so it's not like I'm gonna have, resale value in the future. My intent is to keep this figure forever, so it is mine. So the box art is what I want to go ahead and say about this. This is beautiful. I mean, I think honestly this might be my favorite box art for any Hiya action figure. It really captures the essence of Godzilla walking around and just setting the city on fire. And one thing I do want to say real quick, because it's kind of living rent-free in my head right now, and it's kind of an ongoing situation as filming this. My heart goes out to anybody that is experiencing any hardship from the situation in LA right now. I'm hoping everybody is safe, and I'm hoping the problem is resolved as fast as possible, because yeah, my heart aches seeing everything I've seen. But we're going to go ahead and get to this review. We're going to talk about the good right here, a little bit of happiness and what we're here for overall. And this box art right here, though, definitely the Hiya has attention to detail. And it definitely has the usual things that you would see from Hiya. Of course, you have the logos, exquisite basic, and this is stated to be the Burning Godzilla battle version. So it does separate itself from the last release that Hiya had done. Now this is kind of nifty what they did right here. Rather than doing just the standard little picture and box, you kind of got the picture to where it just seems like it's just burning away. A picture of Godzilla, so I think that was really well done. On the opposing side, we have a picture of Godzilla's spines, so I thought that was interesting rather than a portrait photo of Godzilla. Now as you can tell also in the background, it's kind of blurred out, but it continues the image that we see on the front, so we kind of have Godzilla's tail just uniquely wrapping around, so I think that was really cool how that was done. And on the top, lots of atmosphere, simply reading Godzilla King of the Monsters. And on the back, pretty simple. All the information that you would expect, barcode, various promotional shots of Godzilla, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then after that we have a QR code as well, and I'll go ahead and just show you where that leads you to. And it's going to be to WeChat International, which is an app that you're going to have to go ahead and install. I gotta say their reviews do not look very good right here, but that's what that is right there. It doesn't take you to like Hiya's website or give you any interesting offers. So that's the box art for this action figure. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this. The mold is the exact same mold as we've seen through the previous releases. Now, if you'd like to see a review of these action figures, I've reviewed all 3 of them. I did a comparison of the 2 on the left and the right, so I do have those videos up, so go check that out on my channel. I'll go ahead and put links in the info section if you guys want a direct link since cards are not like unlimited in these videos, but I try to put as many cards up in the corner as I can for these videos. But this beast right here, though, to me, it's just the paint apps in the execution that is big time and well done over the previous release. And as you can go ahead and take, let's go ahead and get an up-close look at the face right there. This one right here captures so many little details that the previous release just missed on. And I'll go ahead and show you the difference between Neca in a moment. First, we'll go ahead and break down this action figure. Just looking at this, with the spines, it's almost got this charred look all about. A big mixture of blacks, oranges, yellows. I gotta say that I really love how the eye isn't overdone. And the mouth, that's really well done. That is excellent, to be honest. I mean, sometimes with these action figures, they go ahead and they get a little spotties and give simple paint apps. And this mold right here in the first place was actually a great mold. So it's not like it was a subpar mold that was kind of a failure or anything like that. Also, with this action figure, with so many different variants of releases, you get to see different aspects just pop a little bit differently with the paint apps and the way they're applied. Just go ahead and look at the yellows and the oranges between the scales. That really just helps this mold pop a lot more. As, let's go ahead and pull this guy in right here. You know, you see that there, but it doesn't exactly hit the same when you got all these outlining colors around the scales and such. It's a close-up look at the chest. That's always been marvelous. I mean, everything about this. Side of the action figure, go ahead and look at the tail. And on the bottom, it just continues to have that charred look all about. And I really like that because it's just not simply painted orange and with a few different specks of blacks about. I really think every aspect of this really just pops. I don't know if this is intentional, but right here on mine, it seems like the spines, almost like on these ones right here, it almost looks like they kind of go in just a little bit. Just a little observation. And one thing that I always loved about this overall mold too is I like the fact there's no seams on the side. So, I mean, you can kind of tell how the sculpt is done. It's not as ugly as, say, like the Neca one was. And by the way, I'm not trashing that Neca one. It was good for the time being. But I think that overall, this one just kind of does much better because you don't see these seams on the side or even on the inside. It's brilliantly done. It's a close-up look at the feet. Once again, more blacks and oranges. It's simple for the coloration that it goes for, but there's just a lot of detail that is just popping everywhere. And like I said earlier, the execution is what sells this for me. For those of you that are curious, here's a look at the translucent plastic on this action figure. Now, if you remember, this was also utilized on the ENERGIZED Godzilla, which was released a few months before this. And in my opinion, this excels brilliantly. Rather than just using a few limbs that are translucent, or using the standard plastic and just painting over orange. So I think this is definitely the direction to go if you're going to go ahead and present figures like this, considering how vibrant this version was in the movie. Now, the articulation, we're going to go ahead and run through this because just in case you have not purchased any of the other ones, and even though it is the exact same articulation, I always try to take account what if you know there's somebody that's a new buyer that's coming across this mold and they're just curious. But you have the mouth opens and closes, and then for that you have 1, 2, 3 cuts on the neck right there, and it seems like right here, yeah, there we go. It took a moment for that to go. This is actually a lot more fluid, and I actually will say that this is probably due in part because this is that translucent plastic, and it's a little different than the usual plastic, but it's not like extreme range or anything like that, but it works though. I actually think this is probably the most fluent of all the Godzillas of this sculpt that I have, but for the arms, all the way around, you don't see no restrictions for this. Not double jointed, just a singular joint at the elbow. And then for that, for the hand, just spins all the way around. And it's the exact same over here as you would expect. Then you do have the ab articulation, which does give a little bit of a rock. However, though, there's not a lot of range. There's virtually no range there. Then for that, you go down to the legs, spin all the way around. And I am having some good luck with this one being fluent. We do have double jointed knees, kicks in and out, and then for that, for the feet, just kind of like rock. And for the tail, it's just multiple segments. We have 9 cuts all about, and that's all there is to it. No bendy wire. It's not exactly as good as, say, like an SH Monsterarts tail, but it's decent enough. We are going to see some major improvements. I've already seen what Hiya has done for the Godzilla 2014, and I'm going to be getting that soon, and I cannot wait to see what advancements have been done with that one versus this overall mold. So this tail is kind of dated for what it is, but it's good enough. You know, I'm not finding any complaints, just that there's always room for improvement for these, and I'm glad to see that Hiya is taking note. Now, one of the bonuses about this action figure is the fact that it has some accessories, and this is something that we've seen Hiya actually diving into recently. 2 alternate hands that are good for grabbing items. And then nextly, we have 2 alternate headpieces for the King Ghidorah, of the head severed. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the King Ghidorah that this goes to. As you can tell, the paint apps are different than the first release. Now, time for the comparison, everybody. So, let's go ahead and say this. I'm not trying to trash this one. I refuse to trash it too much because we are talking a drastic difference. We are talking a figure that came out, I think this came out in late 2019, if not early 2020. I know I got it in early 2020. It was before the year just went completely to shit for everybody when I got this one. But we were talking a big difference in like $25 at like Target, which this was a Target exclusive when it came on out. And then this one right here off INS Hobby, it was listed for like $105 plus shipping and handling. And average, this mold of a regular Godzilla would be like $55 maybe. With shipping and handling would be the extra. But we're still talking some big differences. So Hiya and Neca. Apples to oranges, you know, they're both in the same realm. But this one, though, the overall mold was good for the time being, especially of the regular design. I just remember it had issues with, like, the teeth and the eyes. That's where it got really janky. And now, with this one being a lot more simplistic, they just basically went ahead and just painted over with a bunch of orange. And you do see, like, a little bit between the scales on the arms. Do you see some color variation, but not a lot. As we get up close and personal, you can go ahead and tell there is a drastic difference between the faces. This is very bland. They just went ahead and just painted the orange on the inside of the mouth. It's comparison between the spines, the scales on the side of the body, the feet, the tail, and looking at the two, how they size up. Overall, this one does seem to use a little bit of that translucent plastic. It does seem to be there in the hands and throughout the body. But the difference is extremely apparent. Just look at this example as I use my Ulanzi light behind both. Same idea, but very different approaches in terms of execution. So the final verdict of this action figure, I would be weary of spending $200 on this action figure, 200 plus exactly, because I mean the aftermarket prices are getting insane on eBay. So please keep in mind that you don't need to spend that much. I mean, I'm hoping that Hiya does give it another batch and release on their website, or maybe Calcus or INS Hobby will potentially come through in the clutch with more that they'll get supplied with. For me, spending $110 plus $20 shipping was a little extra more than I wanted to. However, there is no guarantee that this figure is going to see another release, so I was like, why not? I have the chance, I have the money, I'll go ahead and get it, and I'll do a review. The Neca one is still great. I still love it. I mean, it holds up well years later. It just, like I said, apples to oranges. $25 versus the price range of this right here. Hiya did the full justice of this in the essence of what we see on screen at the end, and I just love the variety. Everything just pops so well. I cannot stress that enough. This variant might not be for everybody, so keep that in mind. Some people don't like variants. Some people just might want a simple Godzilla 2019, and Hiya already has that for you. There's so much coming on the horizon. Who knows what they'll do in the future? Maybe there'll be another version of this. Who knows? Hell, we might see one with LEDs in it. That would actually be a really cool idea. We already have the big boy coming out later this year, but we'll see what happens. Now let me know. You gonna get this bad boy? Or have you passed on them, or are you just struggling to find them like everyone else? If that is the case, that is unfortunate because you're missing out on this guy. Be sure to keep an eye on my YouTube posts and my Instagram posts as well. Any news that I find, I'll go ahead and share it and spread it to y'all. Leave any thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys. And you guys, I know we are like 10 days into the new year as I'm filming this, but I hope it's been treating you guys good. Good day.